Nompu, it seems an interesting one. They're, of course, for now just getting background, but there's been a heavy cry as well to be a little more transparent for the PIC. This is certainly going to blow that transparency out the water.
Thanks very much, Arabile. Yes, like you say, we are getting mostly a background. We're getting a legislative background, the legislation that governs the functioning of the PIC. Ms. Louw there just briefly outlining how the board members are appointed, talking about the fact that it's actually the finance minister who appoints the board members in consultation with the cabinet and so on, and talking about other processes like how board committees are also appointed. But just to highlight, because it's very much a background thing, there are a couple of highlights that stood out for me in terms of more tangible issues. So one of the things that has always occurred traditionally is that the Deputy Finance Minister has generally been the chairperson of the PIC. So one of the questions that was posed by the panel with Judge Lex Mpati was, is this something that's legislated for? Does the Deputy Minister of Finance have to be the chairperson of the PIC? And actually he doesn't. But the reason why it's happened traditionally is because the PIC manages the government employees' pension funds, and they account for about 88% of the total funds that they invest. So it's just been a natural thing. But then the difficulty with that is that the King principles, the King codes, they actually propose that if you're going to have a chairperson, that person should be independent. Now, of course, the Deputy Finance Minister is not independent because he's part of a government, and obviously the funds that are handled are those of government employees. So there's no independence there. So the way that the PIC has sought to resolve this discrepancy now is to appoint what they call a lead independent director, and that person is the deputy chair at the PIC, Wankolani Mkwanazi. So that's how they've tried to get around that. So they were just going through details like that. And then another issue that came up, which I think will be juicy down the line, was the fact that Ms. Louw indicated that in March 2017, the then Finance Minister Pravin Gordhan, he made some sort of amendment to the Memorandum of Incorporation of the PIC. And then, of course, soon thereafter, there was that bit of shuffling that our former president used to do. And then Malusi Kigaba came on the scene. And apparently, when he came on the scene, he then said, that amendment, that alteration that was made, please let's reset it and go back to the way that Memorandum of Incorporation was before. That's quite interesting because there is evidence that will be coming later on, and we'll get more elaboration as to why there was a need to change that policy in the first place. So very interesting, but at the moment not many facts coming out, but more of a background. Arabile?
Yeah, thank you so much for that, Nompu. Look, the assessments, as you've made, have been quite interesting in the sense that, as you said, the chairperson has always been the deputy minister there, but it hasn't been somebody we thought needed to always be there. It didn't have to necessarily be the deputy minister. Are you aware of who exactly who else will be taking the stand outside of Wilma Louw, of course, the acting PIC secretary?
There is another person, I neglect to remember the name, but the person works alongside Miss Louw, so somebody, a PIC employee working there, so we're going to get some more evidence from that person, but it seems as though there's only two people who are going to be giving testimony today. And also, just to give you a background, so in terms of how the commission is going to work, it's going to run from Monday to Wednesday, this Monday to Wednesday. Then it will work again Monday to Wednesday next week. They'll then go for about a 3-week recess, and then they'll come back again, I think on the 24th of February, to continue their work. So that's the setup. At the moment, it's all background, but I think it's going to be quite interesting. The UDM leader, Bantu Holomisa, said that some of the findings or testimony that may come out of here may make the state capture inquiry look like a creche, whatever that means. But sure. He expects that it's going to be quite interesting.
Wow. Nompumelelo Siziba out in Pretoria. at that Commission of Inquiry into the affairs of the Public Investment Corporation, of course, asked numerous times indeed to be a little more transparent with who exactly it invests into the private and public companies, of course, that it invests with. Of course, let's remember that the Public Investment Corporation has around 2 trillion rand, almost 2 trillion rand, with regards to the amount of money it manages.